Good evening. My name is Baron Coleman, and I'm one of the arts commissioners here in DeSoto. We are so pleased to bring you an exhibition of Black art by local artists in tribute and celebration of Black Lives Matter movement. Good evening. We're here in DeSoto Town Hall with artist extraordinaire Mr. Curtis Ferguson, former educator at Carter High School and now teaching in Duncanville. Curtis, Mr. Ferguson, tell us about your art.
Well, there's a lot to tell, just depends on where you want to begin. If you notice most of my work, I have a lot of children. My childhood was, I'm not going to just say traumatic, but there was a lot of domestic issues, if you would. And I always wanted that ideal family situation. So in many of my paintings, you'll see both the pain, the tragedy and the triumph of being a child, especially a Black child in America. So I tried to capture that in as many facets as I could.
Is there one piece here that really exemplifies the Black Lives Matter movement and how you were inspired by it?
I don't know if I could say one. The one that stands out most for me would probably be the one, I Matter, the large piece on the wall with the subject clenching his fists and appearing to be screaming. He would give the first impression that he's angry and he's ready to hurt someone, but in actuality, he's frustrated. And I want to make sure there's a difference between frustration and angry. Frustration basically means something is overwhelming you and you can't seem to get relief. It could be like you're swimming and you feel like you're drowning. Anger is you really have a vendetta against someone and you're really going to attempt to either bring harm or some kind of resolution. It may not be pleasant for the other party. So that one stands out for me because of the fact that I think many Black men feel invisible when it comes to certain issues. My brother is an assistant chief of police, and I have the blessing of seeing both sides of it. And one thing that I do recognize is that when it comes to police, law enforcement, and being an African American, there's not one of us that probably don't get nervous when we're stopped. Here in Cedar Hill, I was stopped the other night. He said one of my taillights was brighter than the other. Is it broken? It wasn't on. No, he said it was brighter. I said, okay, well, thank you, officer. And I really was proceeding to leave. He said, no, I need to see your license and registration. So I did ask my brother about it, and he said that was just profiling. And Kenneth, my brother, is very honest about it, and it doesn't take away the frustration because he's been stopped by his own officers who didn't recognize him. And he had to write him up. He said he's written up so many because it exists, whether they say it doesn't or doesn't. That doesn't mean we have to hate the police, because it's not all of them. But at the end of the day, we do want them to see us as human beings. When did it become a rule that you shoot first and ask questions later? So that creates tension and frustration, not necessarily anger, just frustration. Why can't I go home? You know, why did you have to do what you do? So this painting with the colors and making the Black man, and this is actually a portrait of my 22-year-old son, and I had him pose as some of these others are my son. That's my son up there praying, and some others. But I just wanted to capture, and if you see up there written in red is I Matter. And I chose red for obvious reasons. And, but blue is a form of tranquility. Nothing about it says anger, because I would have used more reds and other colors, but I wanted to use the circles, which is symbolic, especially white circles, symbolic of light, it's symbolic of stars, it's symbolic of hope. And I wanted to try to capture it. Orange is another hope color. I didn't want it to just, like I said, convey a message of anger, but when I think of Black Lives Matter, we're basically trying to say that, you know, we're here and we're not just an animal, we're not just a savage, but our lives matter and we're human. So I try to capture the humanity in my work of who we really are as a people.
We're here with Arts Commissioner, DeSoto Arts Commissioner, Mr. Marcello Eames. Marcello, tell us about your art and what inspires it.
Wow, what inspires my art? You know, I can definitely say my art is inspired by just, I guess you can say, observation. I just turned 45 last month, right? And so over the last 45 years, I've encountered and I've watched several things take place in this country and abroad. My art is inspired by experiences, observations. Right now, as I look at the climate of America, I have to dig back and just really dig into what did I understand as a child and what I understand right now as a grown man. And so a lot of times I'm sharing artwork, or I'm sharing thoughts of that little boy. I'm sharing thoughts of a grown man. I'm sharing thoughts of a black man. I'm sharing thoughts of a father. I'm sharing thoughts of a husband. And so my art just kind of comes from, once again, observation and just life, living right here in America.
Well, I see one of your pieces over there with the American flag on it, with some iconic pictures on there. Can you tell us about that piece?
Well, now this piece is called When Doves Cry. In parentheses, it says, a white girl's tears. You know, and I think about the Rosewood years ago down in Florida. I think about Tulsa years ago. You know, I think back to Emmett Till. Also, I think about the Central Park Five, or now known as Exonerated Five. All of the atrocities happened right here in America, mainly because there was a white woman, a white girl, who demanded justice. America demanded justice. A lot of people lost lives. Neighborhoods were burned down. Cities destroyed, mainly because this white woman, this white girl, cried. And a lot of times, innocent lives were taken.
So you work with not only sculptural art. I see you have a piece there called Tulsa.
Yes.
You have the When Doves Cry.
Yes, yes.
But you also have photos as well. Tell us about some of the photos.
Well, I have one photo taken in New York City years ago. It's called Black and White. And this is basically an older black gentleman and a younger white gentleman. And, you know, when I look at that, I think about what's going on in America once again. Specifically in New York, and definitely, if I had to even talk about Dallas, gentrification. I think about the years when this older gentleman, or older woman in New York City, the brownstones, they were selling these brownstones for $150,000. These brownstones have been in the family for years. Grandpa has sold it and taken that $150,000. And before you know it, those brownstones are worth $1.5 million or more. It's happening right now in the Bishop Arts District and Oak Cliff. I think about right there near Townview. I've been at Townview. I went to the school once and I just kind of looked through the windows and I saw this beautiful view of downtown Dallas. And I think that predominantly it's been African Americans right there in that neighborhood. But now slowly but surely, they're being pushed out. So that's not only happening in New York, it's happening here, it's happening elsewhere as well, and it's always a chess match. It's been said that black people play checkers, and others play chess, strategy. It's a game, one big game of strategy. And the thing is, if we don't know the game, we tend to lose. There's another piece over there called Down Boy. And it's a police officer, a dog, and a young boy. And this picture is another one that's dear to me. I took this picture down in Birmingham, Alabama. It's actually a statue right there in the park. And for those of you who may remember, back in the 60s, the 16th Street Baptist Church was bombed. 4 little girls lost their lives in the basement. And of course, the kids used to gather right there in the park to march and protest. And of course, cops sick dogs on them, sprayed them with water hoses and things of that nature. So I just wanted to capture that image, take all of the color out, and just have you focus on the silhouette.
As an arts commissioner, you know that we give grants all the time to artists. If I
Yes.
could award you a grant as an artist, a $50,000 grant, $100,000 grant, what would you do with it here in DeSoto in reference to the Black Lives Matter movement?
That's an interesting one. You know what? It sounds great to have a wall, and you know, I watched Keith Haring once. He took maybe about 500 students, and he painted along this 50-foot wall and had all of the kids, all of the youth incorporate their art within his art. When I create, I like to bring others in as well. So it would definitely be something involving the youth. I've been looking around DeSoto and I've yet to see a 50-foot wall. Barely been able to find a building that has enough wall space, but you know, something along that line where I'm incorporating the youth.
We're here with local artist Jonathan Foster. You have a work here called The War on Us. What's the war and who is us?
Well, us is the black community. Black people, not even black men, are just slain, murdered without a cause. And it's a constant thing. Historically, it just happens over and over. It's a cyclical thing, and it doesn't seem to have an end at this point.
Can you describe some of the images in your War on Us?
The War on Us, pretty much, I can honestly say it was inspired by the Mike Brown incident. So, and then that happened, then Philando Castile, and then, you know, it just continued on and on. So I literally, as I was painting, those events happened, and I just added them in. I went far back as Malcolm X, then I also had Freddie Gray, and just as many as I could fit in there. So unfortunately, well, I guess unfortunately, I had an endless supply of gentlemen to choose from, so yeah.
What were some of the inspiring artists that you take after as far as your painting?
I have to say, I have to give a big shout out to my mentor and constant inspiration, guide and light in my life, Frank Frazier.
Frank Frazier.
Great artist, he's not local per se, I mean he's local now, but he's pretty much international. He's always been a go-to for me if I have questions or if I need answers to, hey, you think this is safe, or what do you think about this? And he's always given me some great insight, and him being who he is, he doesn't hold any punches and he speaks his mind. And I appreciate that, because if I come with a terrible idea, he's a young brother that's terrible, and he just say it like it is. Also, he has an invaluable experience that, you know, I could incorporate into my artwork. So that's always a good thing.
So you have a second piece as well. Can you tell us the name of that and what it's about?
The second piece is The Price of a Black Man's Life. So if you pay close attention, the centerpiece is shaped like a stop sign. And that's done intentionally to make you stop, and also the fact that it's in the center. And you look, it's the toe tag on a pair of feet. And the price is zero, and explain it's just a black man's life. It has no value in society, seemingly. So that was just an example of that.
So how is art affected by the Black Lives Matter movement in general?
I think art reflects reality.
Okay.
So it's literally just a voice. If I had a way of expressing how I feel, that's it.
I'm Kathy Jones, and I'm the staff liaison here at City of DeSoto for the Arts Commission. First, let me say thank you to these wonderful artists for sharing their work with us. We're so happy to have it here in our lobby. It hasn't been without controversy. We've had lots of emotions evoked through these paintings, but that's what art's supposed to do. So come up and see for yourself. The art will be on display in the City Hall lobby where you come to pay your water bill, Monday through Friday between business hours 8 to 5, through the month of September, and hopefully we'll keep it a little longer. So come out and see it.